You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. It is your Fatty with a Natty coming at you for episode 96 in this second week of August. Man, time is flying because apparently we're having fun, right? How is everyone doing? Everyone doing all right? Things going good in your neck of the woods? Staying cool or warm, I suppose, if you're somewhere where it isn't. It's finally cooling off here a little bit, at least this week. Here in Utah, northern Utah anyhow. Fires everywhere. Christ, the whole place is burning up. We're probably right on the precipice of the proverbial hell in a handbasket, is what I assume. So hopefully it's not that bad where you're at, but if you're in the western United States and a lot of Canada, well, that is not the case, as I'm sure you are well aware. I was going to have Caroline Levitt on the show tonight, but as I'm sure you've heard, she decided to step down. And I'm not entirely certain, but I imagine a new baby will do that to just about anyone. But of course, everyone is throwing around speculation. The other thing that I can't wrap my head around is why everyone is apparently losing their minds about old Donald J. pulling the switcheroo on Air Force One. I don't know why it's any big shock to anyone that this happened, or the fact that this is a very common occurrence every day, not just with airplanes, mind you. This is a very common tactic used by every administration. So I don't know. Maybe this is some of that Donald Trump syndrome. What a DTS? I don't know. Everybody say, "Oh well, Biden rode in a train through Ukraine." Yeah, but did he? Or is that just what they told you? Why do you think there's 10 cars or whatever in the motorcade? You don't know which one anyone is in. Like I said, this is a very common tactic, and apparently I thought it was a little bit more common knowledge than it seems to be. I don't know. I don't know why people are losing their minds. I'm also not certain why so many people think that it's just easy peasy to uproot and go to another country if you don't like it. I had this thought several days ago and was trying to figure out how I wanted to present it. But hey, at the end of the day, a lot of those countries don't want a bunch of you. And that includes myself. So it has nothing to do with any certain person or certain group of people. It's most of us. But I was looking it up, and of the 193 countries in the world, they call it 195, but that includes Vatican City and the state of Palestine. So out of the 193 countries, only 58 to 67 speak English. And of those, how many do you really think are going to cater to you where you don't speak the language? Or we're probably one of the few countries on earth, and I have to say probably because I've never been to any of them. But how many of those countries do you think you're going to be able to press one for English, or, have the menus or the ATMs and things in English? So depending on where you think you're just going to uproot to because you hate America so bad, what do you think the end result is going to be? Again, depending on where you think you're going to go. It blows my mind. And this, probably, as near as I can recall, last week came up while I was talking on social media about a flag. Of all things, the amount of people who have decided they hate our flag or our country or the things that it stands for is wild to me. This was literally a flag that they had just put up in a small city in northern Utah. And the basis for all of it was that they cut down a tree to put this flagpole there. Of course, everybody lost their mind, but why would we sacrifice a tree to put up that godforsaken flag or whatever? Well, come to find out, the tree was dead, but the amount of people who still don't care that the tree was dead and needed to be cut down anyhow, or the amount of people who think that they no longer appreciate or respect the flag and what it stands for is just beyond my comprehension. As a Gen X, I guess maybe we're some of the last ones that still have that, like ingrained into us. And of course, my logic to that is it's been bad before and it will be bad again. That doesn't mean that we just give up on our country. At least I'm not going to. And like I said, I can't wrap my head around why anyone else would. It's been, 8 months since Donald J's second term, and everybody's just ready to give up and move to God knows where, Venezuela or Palestine. Tear it up. Have fun. I'm sure that if there are folks in any of those places listening, they would probably tell you that things aren't great there and they would trade you places in a heartbeat. That's what I would assume. You have to think that we're still one of the only countries on earth, probably not one of the only, but probably the biggest country on earth where tens of thousands of people try and get in every day, either legally or illegally, because wherever they're from is just not great. So, even though things are kind of rough at the moment, they're rough globally, and we still have it better than a lot of places. So I think a lot of folks need to take a giant step back and really put things into perspective and maybe do some homework before they think that it just sucks so bad here. At the end of the day, I, for one, will never forget or discount the millions of people who have fought and sadly lost their lives for this country and what that means, and all the folks who have fought for us over the years, over the decades, for us to be able to think and speak freely. I try to never forget that, and have no intentions on ever doing so. Just because we get a rough patch of administration does not mean that the whole thing goes down the tubes. We've had shit administrations in the past, and we'll have them in the future. Just like, I've said it before. This is just the roller coaster. There is no such thing as a perfect administration. There never will be. Sorry, there just won't. I don't see any possible way for that to happen, especially not when everything is so divided. It's just not going to happen. So you take the good with the bad, and you be glad that you wake up every day free, and a lot of people think that that is not the case also, but the fact that they're free to think that seems to slip a lot of folks' minds. Honestly, I'm fairly pleased that some of these wackadoos that are running for Congress and Senate and whatever they can, these I'll say Eads or whatever, are not sweeping the polls nearly as hard as everyone thought they were going to, or a lot of people thought they were going to. And honestly, that's a good thing. I still don't understand why a foreign national is allowed to hold a seat in Congress. Don't get me wrong. I understand that we are one of the most diverse, not divided. Well, we're both. we're divided as hell, but we're also one of the most diverse places on the planet, the melting pot that everyone is always speaking of. So I understand, and I don't have a problem with that. But why are they allowed to hold such an important office? Once upon a time, I believe that wasn't a thing. Schwarzenegger couldn't run for president after being what most people, or what a lot of people I'm sure would say, was a very successful governor of California. But he was not allowed because he's foreign born. But, some of these other positions, in my opinion, are equally as important. And some of these folks can barely speak English. Again, diverse is one thing, but good Lord, where do we draw the line? Where do we say, okay, this guy or whatever that I don't know, Indian or Egyptian, dude, I'm sorry, I'm probably screwing it up, but the guy that just lost his seat, with the crazy eyebrows, that could barely speak English. How in the hell does that dude end up in Senate, or in a huge governmental office? How does that happen? I don't understand. Again, where do we draw the line? Where's the line between, we're being inclusive, or this is just ridiculous? Who's drawing that line, and where is it? Because I don't think anyone can find it anymore. But just like we've talked in the past, there are probably 1,000,001 things way more important that we should be dealing with than all of the things we're trying to worry about at the moment. This continuing garbage in the Middle East, just all the dumb shit, when we should be addressing, homeless veterans and the astronomical price of home affordability, or the lack of home affordability, kids going hungry, all the problems that we have here in the U.S. that somehow are the least of anyone's worry in the U.S. government. Right? They're too worried about running out of bombs or God knows what. Who knows? You guys know I try not to keep up anymore. But sometimes I bring it up just because the jokes write themselves in there somewhere. But I guess the bonus is if anyone was looking for a reason to buy a new gun or more ammo or emergency preparedness supplies, well, you got plenty of those. So, the old lady can't get too mad if you're buying that kind of stuff when you just tell her to watch the news for a minute. I'm thinking about picking up a new one myself if I was into that sort of thing, of course. Unfortunately, the price of everything has gotten so out of control, and for good reason, of course. But I'm honestly thinking about a little plinker. I think a little plinky pistol would be kind of fun to have, just for shooting at paper. Anyhow, you know me, I'm just rattling random shit that pops up into my head. I'm going to take a break and deal with the Henri going through a bit of a rough patch with her woman stuff studio dog, and we'll be back. Hey guys, Ryan here, aka the Fatty with a Natty. Are you a business owner or marketing director looking to explore how advertising on the Blowed Out podcast can help your business or organization grow? As we push further into our fourth season, we have gained a listening audience in over 270 cities spread across 58 countries worldwide. All this while continuing to grow every week. In 2026, podcasts will statistically outpace social media, display, and terrestrial radio ads by over 4 times on average. If you would like to discuss pricing, frequency, and ROI options, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com with marketing in the subject line. That's blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, subject marketing. Speaking of going through some stuff, I apologize that this is on the wrong day, this episode. I was forced to go play at my real job on Sunday, so my days are all out of whack. And last night, when I realized that it was in fact not Wednesday, it took all the wind out of my sails so bad that I didn't have the gas to pull it off. So apologies on coming out a day late. Hope y'all will forgive me. I know it's probably not the end of the world, but you never know. Some people probably have a set routine or maybe just missed me. But I will try not to make that mistake again. Hopefully it was just the last two Sundays. The one before was kind of easy, but hopefully that was the end of it. Doing some computer mess, whatever. Which, I don't do computers, so it was dumb. Anyhow, hopefully that's over and everything can go somewhat back to normal. And now that it's cooling off, maybe we can get some riding in. I know we've talked about that a bunch, and there's a bunch of folks who, now that the hill climb season has basically wound down, there's only a couple left, and it's just the big nationals, the East-West Coast shootout, stuff like that. Maybe we can get some free riding in with a bunch of the folks, a bunch of the fellers and the gals, and, get out and just have some fun and do some free riding. Speaking of things winding down, I don't know if some of you know, possibly, I'm sure a lot of you know, perhaps, but Andy Green, who many people consider the world's fastest man, at least on land, he is the retired RAF pilot that drove the Thrust SSC car down in Black Rock to 736 miles an hour. Man, it's been a long time ago now, like 20 years ago now. But anyhow, he has been back in Utah. He was here last week for Speed Week in the JCB Streamliner, that he owns a record from like 10 years ago when it was diesel powered. Well, this year they were back and it's hydrogen powered. And he made, or JCB's made special arrangements to stick around and have FIA come out this week to the Salt Flats and just set a new record of 406 miles an hour in a hydrogen-powered, wheel-driven vehicle. So, kind of damn cool if you're into, all things fast. Also, when I had my little explosion on the Salt, he autographed a shop shirt to give to me while I was in the ICU. So, super cool. Kind of, like I said, pretty cool. If you're into Salt Flat stuff or cars, you don't even have to be into Salt Flat stuff. But if you're into wild feats of engineering and speed and just cars in general, that thing is amazing. They've spared no expense. Big corporate money, which good for them. I wish I had it, but I don't. Anyhow, it is 1,600 horsepower, which in the grand scheme of things is really not that much. I mean, it is, obviously, it's a lot, but for a 400 mile an hour streamliner, it's not that much, honestly. And it's two very small engines that they have adapted from some JCB, like, I don't know, skid loaders or backhoes or something that were originally 22 horsepower. And they revamped them and put giant huffers on them and shoved a bunch of hydrogen into them and got 800 horsepower apiece. So pretty damn cool in the grand scheme of things. So if nothing else, congratulations to Andy Green and the JCB guys on their new record of 406 miles an hour for a hydrogen-powered vehicle. And for those of you who don't follow it or don't know and are at least a little interested, Danny Thompson, of course, the son of the late, great Mickey Thompson, set a new record last week in a gas-powered, fuel. They call it fuel. It was most likely methanol, possibly nitro. I'm not 100% sure what they're running, but also set a record of 406, not hydrogen, but did it last week during Speed Week. So congratulations to all them guys. The engineering and the hours and the effort and everything that goes into that is just beyond imagination. So super cool stuff. Sorry, I know, it's probably boring, but it's super cool to me. And if you like fast cars, then it should be super damn cool to you. At the end of the day, it's only like 250 miles an hour faster than I've ever gone in anything with wheels. And sadly, probably faster than I ever will go. I wish that wasn't the case. I have toyed with the idea of building something to go race on the Salt, but who am I kidding? I don't have the time or the money. Also, I'm going to have to find someone to come and make me a custom fire tent to house my fat ass. But I'm sure anything is possible. I just need a big fat corporate sponsor. So, hit me up. I'll be waiting. Damn it. I almost completely forgot about the Zohan Mom Donnie, whatever his name is, throwing a temper tantrum because they shot down his request to have the NYPD, of all people, escort his wife to Syria to visit family. You can't make this shit up. So you're going to take taxpayer-funded resources to put together what you assume is going to be a private security detail to escort your wife to a level 4 no-fly country. And then when the governor tells you, fuck no, you're going to throw a fit? Wow. That is crazy, folks. That is crazier than wanting to open 5 city-run grocery stores subsidized with taxpayer money, or city money, which is taxpayer money, for 30% less than other retail outlets, when Chicago's mayor just came out and announced that theirs have all officially gone defunct and left neighborhoods with no food. Well, maybe this is why they aren't winning in the midterms like everyone thought they were going to, right? What planet are these people on? It's bad enough that you think as mayor you have the ability to send a group of the city's police force to escort your wife to Syria, for the love of God. As though anyone wants to go there. Sorry for anyone in Syria that may be listening. I'm real sorry that you're in Syria, but I still don't know anyone who wants to go there. But then the grocery store stuff. Also, where's the free subways and buses and all the other big promises that his, Democratic Socialist Party? God, I love it. Like I said, I would love to get on here every week and talk about all things other than politics or garbage in the news. But like I said, some of it is just too good to leave alone, right? Because if you don't think that's funny, well, then you probably voted for him and you probably aren't listening to this show. But that's all right. We still love you. We love them all, big or small, regardless of who you possibly made a mistake and voted for once. I did it once. I've actually done it a few times. Well, I wouldn't say that I voted for mistakes. At the time, they weren't mistakes, or at least I didn't think so. They just ended up being flops. But, got to try and choose the lesser of two evils, right? My votes weren't founded upon pipe dreams and, I don't know, meth spoons. Good Lord. You can't make this shit up. Anyhow, I would be all in, but they're going to have to do certain things. I'm going to need you to bring back 2-liter bottles of Purple Passion. Yeah, I know. I'm certain I will regret it, but damn, it's so delicious. So delicious. And I have such great fond memories of the Purple Passion. I'm going to need you to stop carrying brisket because it's overrated, overhyped, overpriced. Tri-tip is the superior meat to smoke. Yes, I said it, and you can come at me. I don't care. I like brisket. Tri-tip's just better. And it's not, $180 for a tri-tip. So there's that. Pellet smokers have their place, but they're overrated. Damn it, I got sidetracked. Never mind. Groceries aren't like the biggest worry I have. Granted, I'm not shopping, trying to feed a family of 5. So, a little bit more expensive eggs or milk or what the hell ever doesn't affect me that much. gas affects me. I worry way more about gas than I do a gallon of milk. But again, I'm not a family of 5, so I'm not discounting anyone who is being kicked in the ass at the grocery store. It's everything, is the problem. If I was just going for, bread and eggs and milk, like a typical grocery run, okay, not a big deal. But when it's, dog food and deodorant and toothpaste and, and maybe some dude wipes or some toilet paper or, whatever. I'm just trying to think of a typical grocery run. Vitamins and, my lifeblood, which is Tylenol and acetaminophen and ibuprofen, which are still relatively cheap. But it's when you start compounding all those things that, $85 is now $185. That's where it really starts to be the bastard. And it cost you, $4.29 a gallon to get there. That's where the problem lies. So 30% off of, I think that's what he said, 30% off of, he said plantains, like a dumbass, holding bananas. But yes, I know, certain people call them different things, but plantains are absolutely not bananas. However, 30% off of a bundle of bananas is not what people are bitching about, bro. You got this all wrong. You're doing this all wrong. A loaf of shit-ass white bread is still like $1.50. So that's not what people are bitching about. It's the meat. Meat is out of control. Cheese is still relatively cheap. And granted, I'm looking at it as someone living in northern Utah, not a coastal city where I'm sure things are much, much worse, including gas. But, across the board, all of the things that these guys are claiming to be wanting to help, us poor, little nobody, low-class Americans are not the big problem. The problem is that the $400,000, 50-year-old, 1,200 square foot house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, that's ridiculous. In 2005, I believe it was 2005. I don't know. I honestly have tried to block a lot of those years from my memory, so I don't have to go to therapy. You guys are my therapy, if I'm being honest. But let's call it 2005. It was either 5 or 6. I purchased a 2,800 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath house for $189,900 here in Ogden. When the judge told me I had to sell it or pay my ex-wife, which of course was absolutely never going to happen, 3 years ago now, 4 years ago maybe, pushing 4 years ago now, I sold it. I quick sold it for, I want to say, I don't know, 3 and change, let's call it. Had to pay some lawyer fees and some other garbage, but I know that like 6 weeks later, they gutted it, which was really sad because it was a really nice house and I did a lot of great work in that house. And they tore it all out and turned it into a shit box full of IKEA cabinets and, I don't know, like 3-gallon bullshit-ass little apartment bathtubs instead of the 70-gallon jetted corner tub. And anyhow, that's a whole different story. But I want to say 6 weeks after they bought it from me, they sold it for $500,000. But it was still, in the grand scheme of things, I had built another bedroom in the basement, and it still had one unfinished. So in the grand scheme of things, it was a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,800 square foot house, for $500,000, all fresh. That's still a lot of money. It's still kind of gross. I know, guys, don't laugh at me if you're in the areas that's nothing. California, New York, Oregon, Washington, all those places that are way obscenely worse than here. But now, like I said, for that same $500,000, you can get like 1,500 square feet and 3 bedrooms and 2 baths if you're lucky. Like, those are the things that are kicking us in the dick as regular everyday folks. The minimum wage, I'm torn on that if I'm being honest, because, I'm old enough to have worked for $4.25 an hour. I'm old enough to have bought a house on not a whole hell of a lot more than that. So I don't know, I guess the desire to raise minimum wage to $20 or $25 an hour to try and offset the cost of everything is the most obscene, dumbass logic on the planet. Do I think that people doing those types of jobs need more income? Of course. But what do you think's going to happen? And I know, I'm just rambling on, so I apologize. I know that I don't have to explain this to you guys as though you don't understand it. So just let me ramble. But the people who don't understand that if you take minimum wage to $15 or $20 an hour, or $25 an hour for the kid, handing you your fries at Burger King, what do you think's going to happen to that, value meal or whatever, your number 3 combo or whatever that used to be, $7 or $8 and is now $15 or $18? It's going to now be $35 for a Whopper and some fries and a Coke. And of course, I'm not picking on Burger King. That's just what came out. But all of those things are just going to translate down the line. So the people who somehow think that if you raise minimum wage to $20 or $25 an hour, excuse me, and that will offset the high cost of things, yet think that the high cost of those things isn't going to, also raise to mimic or to, go right along with those prices. I can't think of the right word, sorry. They're out of their mind. They're outside of their mind. Everything from 2x4s to hamburgers to, Christ, I just saw here local, and again, coastal cities don't laugh at me. But now I just saw that our public transportation wants to raise the price of a bus ride, or is asking to raise the price of a bus ride to $3, which doesn't seem like a lot if you've ever ridden the BART or, I don't know, whatever other places have. The BART's the only other one I've ever ridden, but, at one time when it was like 40 cents or 65 cents, and now it's $3. It's $3, to go 4 blocks. I understand. Yes, that's still cheaper than insurance and gas in a car. But then I only get to ride the bus to the place I'm trying to go. I can't go up the canyon. I can't go for a cruise or whatever. That seems crazy to me. $3 for a damn bus ride. Like I said, I realize that sounds dumb in the grand scheme of things, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Is that everything will go up in conjunction with minimum wage and everything else. It just will. And why people don't understand that, I will never grasp. I know I say that a lot. Sorry. I just won't. I don't get it. At somewhere, somehow, everything, maybe not everything, but somebody needs to figure it out, and there needs to be caps put in place on housing costs and food costs and insurance, for the love of God. Health insurance, of course, you guys know, is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, sure, it might not cost that much to get a policy. I mean, it does, but there may be some policies out there that aren't, obscenely expensive. But when you go to get a prescription and the most basic generic-ass pill on the planet is $50 for $30, Jesus. They're burying us right where we stand. And unfortunately, like always, I don't know the answer, but something at some point has to be done by someone, or it's just going to continue spiraling out of control. And, we're going to collapse from within, which sadly is already where I see things going. Anyhow, enough doom and gloom. Enough rambling for 1 week. It's been a good therapy session, right? I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Trying to think if I had any big announcements. Nothing that I can think of. Stay hydrated. Wear some sunscreen. Be careful with fires, flames, sources, all that mess. Everything is so dry. Apparently not in the Midwest. Sorry, guys. Hope you guys are doing okay. Sounds like you guys are getting beat up pretty good, apparently. But other than that, the usual stuff. Shout out to our partners, Evolution Design Works and Fine Finishes. All the good stuff. Keep gassing your car. Keep water. Never hurts to have a gallon of water. As long as you keep it out of it, don't let it get sunlight. Keep it in in your trunk or something. So if you get stranded, you got some water at least. As always, keep your heads on a swivel. The crazies ain't getting any less crazy. Good Lord. Yeah, that's a whole nother episode in and of itself. Anyhow, if you got questions or comments or need something or want to collaborate or whatever, you know where to find us. blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, and hope everybody has a great rest of their week and a fantastic weekend. And as always, tell a friend, tell a family member, hell, tell your enemy. Sick it on them if you don't like it. Available everywhere. And until next time, love you guys. We'll talk soon. Cheers.